Hey, I'm Rob, and I am a CNC hobbyist. I like making one-off projects that are fun and interesting to me, and hopefully you might think the same. In this video, I am making a 2-foot by 2-foot puzzle game board. I'm using walnut for the dark pieces and myrtle for the light pieces. For this video, I'm going to change it up a little bit. I normally show what I do in the CAD program, then I go out to the CNC and cut out stuff. And honestly, while the CNC is cutting, I'm always kind of trying to find something to say because you can only talk so much and keep the actual cutting interesting. So I'm going to actually have the CNC cut up in the corner here, and you can see what it's doing while I'm actually talking about designing this project. So hopefully that makes it a little more interesting, and it makes my videos a little bit shorter. I like to show what's cutting on the CNC, but I hate to make it boring too. So let me know if this works. Type a comment you like it, or if you don't like it. I'm always happy to hear things, and it helps the algorithm if people actually comment and show interest in stuff. Yesterday I recorded this section of the video, the CAD cam, where I'm designing the puzzle piece and showing how to tweak it to get it to fit right in the CNC. And I thought it was good enough, and I went ahead and got everything ready. I even uploaded it to YouTube, ready to hit that publish button. I've watched it again, and I decided it's not good enough. I don't make sense, and I'm telling you easy things that actually in the end probably aren't quite that easy. So I'm going to start over from scratch. Of course, this is a puzzle piece. This is the basic one I've used for a couple years now. I built my own, and then I keep tweaking it for the individual product. There's always little changes. On the video yesterday, I said, just Google it and find a good puzzle piece, then copy it. And I went so far as now to do that, and these are not good. I mean, straight edges. I want a nice flowing curve. If you look at mine, it's got a curve on it, this arc, and when you put the pieces together, this arc matches that arc. It's just a better looking piece. I wouldn't go far and say how bad it is out there, or how great mine is, but I like mine a lot better than these ones I'm seeing out here. This one's a little closer. That arc probably matches that if you rotate it sideways, but flat edges and just not very pretty, elegant designs. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this and make my own, show you how I did it. I've already done this project on the CNC. Mine's done, so I'm just going to walk through the process. This will not be the actual one you'll see. To do this, I made a couple ovals. I'll go ahead and do that. Work through this here and get an oval, close that, and let's get it exactly on the center line. Well, I got pretty close doing that the first time. Let's stretch this out just a little bit. Be a little wider. And that is very close to that original design. Okay, that's one oval. We'll do another oval, try to get this shape right here. So let's click oval again and close that. We'll drag this over somewhere in the middle here. When I did this, I don't remember how I did this honestly a couple years ago. I think this is basically what I did. Whoops. And I want this to be bigger yet because it's going to have to touch that oval there. Yeah, I'm not quite the same there, but that's okay. I'm not going to worry about that too much. So let's take these two ovals and go up a little bit. I want to make sure that these are touching just barely. And they should be touching now. And when I do this, I'm only worried about this half of this side. So it's technically there's 4 sides. It's an 1/8 of the design I'm working on right now. I'm going to go ahead and just go into Node Edit. I'm just going to cut this one up here somewhere. So I'm going to hit C. I cut that. Same thing here. I'm going to cut that right on that joint. Cut. I should have done that. We'll find out in a second if that actually worked. Nope. Control Z, undo that. And we'll see if it worked or not. I'm just going to go to Node Edit again, hit N for node, and I'm going to cut it right there. And I cut this one in the same spot, cut it right there. So now I should be able to delete this, hit delete button. Same thing, hit delete button. That's most of the shape I want right there. I'm going to now go back out of Node Edit, hit N, and I'm going to hit J for join. So that's one piece now. You can do that by the menus here. I forget which one that is. I always hit J, but one of these buttons does the exact same thing. I'm going to drag this back down to where we were. And actually, I want this to be exactly a 3-inch puzzle piece. Now, it's hard to find where to measure at 3 inches, but to do that, this actually is a 3-inch square, 3 by 3, close that. I'm going to put this dead center. And these corner points, that's where I want to be the measurements for exactly 3 inches. So if I know I have another one, that 3-inch will hit there. And if you want to do something 36 inches, you can go by 12 and it'll come out to be 36 inches. So I'm going to hit this, hit Node Edit again. I'm going to cut this again, so hit C. And then delete this. And I'm going to drag this down to right here at that point. Oops. Exactly at that point. And I'll start playing with the Bezier and get it how I want it. And actually, I might change the throat area of this a little bit too to get it closer to what I want. This raises up. I'm trying to copy what's there, which is not really necessary. That's not a good or bad puzzle piece. I just know I like that one right now. So that's what I'm going to work with. So I'm going to get the rest of this and hit Node again, back out of Node Edit, and move this out of the way. So now I've got 1/8 of the piece right here. And I'm going to make a mirror copy to the left side. Left. Close that. Hit J again for join. So now we have one side. I'm going to copy this now. Control C, then Control V. And I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees. So that will be this point. I hit those two, they click together. Oops, that is not right. I'm going to Control Z, go back. I did not want to do that. I want to make the bottom one first. So I'm going to mirror copy and go flip vertical down. That should have put one right there, yep. And now I will copy this one again. There are two there? There were two there. I've already made a copy of it. So now I'm going to do that, and I'm going to copy it and rotate it 90 degrees. That will be the innie. I always go a system where it's got two outies, or male, and two innies, females. And this one again, I'm going to go back to copy, and I'm going to flip horizontal. That flips it across the axis, and these all should join up exactly right. And if I highlight the whole thing, hit J for join again, we've got a puzzle piece. And if I put this square on top again, let's move it to the dead center. It should match up exactly right. It looks pretty darn good to me. It looks like I'm a fraction off, but I'm not going to worry about that. We're down into the thousandths of an inch. In fact, I'm not sure I'm perfectly centered right now. Let's center that. Okay, looks good now. So I'm going to get rid of this square again. And for an example, I'm going to copy this one now. So Control C, Control V, and rotate again 90 degrees. And if I click this edge, and click here so those two edges match up, it should match exactly right, because we just have the same shape that we've copied in and copied out. So in theory, that's what it would look like in the end, but because there's tolerances and there has to be a gap between those two, this would never actually work if I cut these out. In my experience, I usually go with a gap of 0.06 between these, 0.006, 6 thousandths of a gap there. So I'm going to take this and go to offsets. I'm going to go inwards, because I want 0.006 thousandths gap, but it's on 2 pieces total. So I'm going to go 3 in this one, and then when I copy it, it'd be 3 on that one too. So I'm going to offset by 3. So now the inside one is the one I actually want to work with. So I'm going to take the original, take this original, I'm going to get it out of the way. Once again, I'm going to copy this one, Control C, Control V, and I'm going to rotate it 90. And now I'm going to put it basically in place, though we know there needs to be a gap there. And actually you can see the gap easiest through here. You can see it's too tight here, not there. Just using the arrow key to get this going. It looks like I need to go a little bit up and in still. Visually, this looks about right. So in theory, let's just see what our gap is now. Though, that says 0.057 when we do that. So I'm darn close to that 6. So at this point, I would take this design and rotate that back, whatever. I'm going to go outside and cut that on the CNC as a test piece. And I'll do a test fit. Odds are it won't be perfect. In fact, I know it won't, because it never is. I've done this multiple times, different sizes. If you size it up or size it down, suddenly that 6 thou gap in there changes because you've sized it up. It might be too tight or too loose at that point. Often, this little throat area is what's off. I have some theories why, but I'm not quite sure why that is. So in the end, I can't just go and resize it doing the offsets again, bigger or smaller, because it's this little throat area that's wrong. So once I do the test fit, I can see where the gap is, where it's too big, too small, whatever. At that point, I will take this piece. I'm going to go to Node Edit again. Take it back. I'm going to go back out of Node Edit. I want to change that to Bezier curves. So I've highlighted that, and I want to go to this one. And I'm going to change it to Beziers. Keep a very small number here so it doesn't change the shape at all. Hit Preview. Notice now it's only a few points instead of those thousands and thousands. Hit OK. And there's one more thing I have to do. I want there to be, I'm going to hit Node for Node Edit. I want there to be a joint right here on that line. So I'm going to hit here and I put Insert. Didn't do anything. I for Insert. There we go. So now I can cut this at the midpoint if I want to, which I am going to want to in a second. So I'm going to cut this at this corner. Cut. And again, C for cut. Now this piece, so I'm going to cut it right here. Hit C for cut. And I'm going to delete this side right here. In the end, I'll also delete this one down here because I'm going to get this exactly how I want it. So, like I said, I either want to make this bigger or smaller here. Usually there's a gap here, so I want the male part to be a little bigger. So I would move this out. Well, I'd probably measure it first. Say I know I want to go at 10 thousandths. So I'm going to put 0.01. I'm just going to make a little circle here as a reference point. Close. Drag this. Well, part of the throat there. Now I'll back into Node Edit, hit N. I'm going to pull this in so keep getting it a little bit. So now that I've changed that 10 thou. So that's the shape I want. I'm going to hit Node again for Node, get out of Node Edit. Copy this. Oops, sorry. Copy that to the left, a mirror to the left. And I'm going to hit J for join again, so that's one piece instead of two individuals. Down here, I'm going to Node, delete. I'm sorry, I'm going to cut at this spot, cut, and cut. Go back out of Node, delete this piece. And I'm going to copy it down on the vertical axis. And I join it all together again. J for join. So that's how I would adjust that throat area to make it bigger or smaller. Copy that. Rotate the copy 90 degrees. Often once you actually look at this in CAD versus in real life, they don't match up how you expect them to. And I don't actually like how this came through either. In real life, I would point this down a little bit to get that shape closer to what I want. But for now, just pretend that happened originally. There was a little bit of arc there I didn't like. Not what I'm trying to show, but kind of the point is, there's a bit of a science to this instead of math and whatnot. Because at a certain point, you just have to go out, cut a test piece, see how it fits, and make adjustments. Because no matter how hard you try to get it perfect in design, in actuality, it's just not the same. So right here, it looks like it overlaps and wouldn't fit. But in actuality, often it doesn't look right in CAD, but it gets a perfect fit in the end after you've tweaked these things. For this project I'm showing today, I did 4 test pieces, or 4 test sizes. I had multiple pieces. Once I had it close, I only tweaked the outie, the male there. I did not want to change this and change this at the same time. You get too many variables, things you think are working, fighting against each other. It's like a double-edged sword. You make a change and it doubles anything you're doing. Just not the way to do it. I make that one spot here, then copy it over and copy it down. And that's the best way to get a nice tight fit in the end. Now that we've gone through this process, I've just showed how I made a puzzle piece, how I tweak it to get the final version. I think we're ready to move on to the next step. When I cut out the puzzle pieces, I used tabs to hold everything together so they wouldn't go flying off the CNC machine. To get rid of those tabs, I used my detail belt sander. It's built by Wen. It made fast work of that, and they came out great. I really do like that tool. For the glue up, I kept it pretty simple. I laid out all the pieces exactly how I wanted. I only did 2 rows at a time so I could clamp everything up and get good pressure on those 2 rows. I poured glue in a bowl and just used my fingers to wet all the pieces down and did them 1 piece at a time and glued them up. And here I speed it way up and we can zoom through the rest of the glue up. I would always do 2 rows at a time on this, and it's 8 rows total, so 4 individual glue up sessions with an hour to dry between each session. At this point, the board has been skimmed top and bottom and sanded top and bottom. Now I'm going to put a layer of poly on this. That is actually not how I'm going to finish this off. It is important I seal it. I do not want there to be any moisture content changes and warpage, things like that. So I'm doing this, well, for 2 reasons. First of all, to stop any warping. Second of all, I'm going to put epoxy on this, and I want it to be a smooth layer it goes on to. Epoxy will leak into all the joints, cracks, and things like that. I'm trying to eliminate bubbles when I get that point. Now, sadly, I don't have the video recording of that. I messed up on recording that, so I don't have any pictures of laying down the epoxy. Again, it's just pouring stuff on there and keeping it level and letting it dry, and a lot of popping bubbles. Because I have these joints on here between all the puzzle pieces, there's a minuscule crack in a lot of these, and there's a lot of bubbles. So a lot of popping bubbles with the air gun, very boring process. And at one point, I actually, well, you'd say cooked it. I got it too hot trying to pop bubbles, and I had to redo a section. I'll throw a picture of that in right now so you can see what it looks like when you overcook the epoxy. So after that happened, I skimmed and sanded and put down another layer of poly again on that to make it all work out. In the end, it came out great. And again, just by doing this, you can see how the colors pop, how it comes out really nice. That's the eventual end color like that. I was also worried about epoxy, maybe changing the color content, not consistently. So that's another reason why I put down this layer of poly. I just like the color how this is, and I didn't want to change radically when I put down the epoxy. And here's a shot after I poured the epoxy. I would love to say you just pour that and it self-levels and it's easy, no problems. Well, that would be a lie. It still works. even after it dries, there were some soft waves, undulations, what do you want to call it. So there was quite a bit of sanding after this. I put poly on top of that, buffed it to get a really nice finish in the end. I'll show some pictures here what it looks like in the end, but it wasn't as easy as you want to think, like all the other YouTubers show, oh, it's easy to do with our product. It's still a lot of work, but it came out spectacular in the end. Here are a couple final beauty shots of the board. It's a chessboard, technically. I'm not sure if I actually mentioned that before. It's meant to be a chessboard on this side, and on the back side, I'm going to inlay a different game board. You'll have to wait till my next video to see that. Hopefully that'll be relatively soon, but honestly, we have family coming in a few days, and that includes our first grandchild, and that takes precedence. We're editing any videos, so it might be a while before that video actually comes out. If you have not yet, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Thanks, and have a great day, everyone.